Hi, I'm Dave Eastman, Senior VP of In-Command Services. This session highlights the columns and features of In-Command's port list. After watching this video, you'll be equipped to watch the additional port training videos. In-Command's port list is designed to track every network port, switches, and patch panels in a data center. The data maintained for each port is displayed on the port list. The port list menu is accessible under Data Center Views, Port Management Port List. It's also accessible under Add Change Infrastructure, Port Management Port List. Under the Data Center Views menu, the port list is in a read-only format for read-only users. But today's demo, we're going to access it from the Add Change Infrastructure menu. So let's get to it. First things first, I'll select a site from the site selection fields to make sure I'm looking at the right site. In this case, I'm going to select our demo site. Next, we'll go to the Add Change Infrastructure menu, Port Management, and display the port list. Because there are many columns on this port list, I recommend you now hide the site selection fields so that you can have more screen space for the port list columns. The columns on this page are port ID. This is a unique identifier system assigned for every port. Next is the port name. The port name is also system assigned, generated by concatenating the device name plus the module plus the cassette plus the port number. The next column is the front port connected to. All ports, switches, patch panels, and general devices have front connections. Only patch panels have both a front and a back connection. If the front port is open, that is, it's not cabled to any other port or device, then the Patch to Blue button will present. Clicking on the Patch to button will present a form to complete in order to make a new connection. If the port is already connected to another port, then the name of the port to which it is connected is displayed in this column. Finally, if the port has a cable but is not connected to another device, it is simply left hanging in a rack, then the name of the rack where the cable is hanging is displayed in white text on a light blue background. The next column is the front cable label column. This column is also a system-assigned TIA-compliant label consisting of the port name for side A with a bidirectional arrow and the port name for side B. The check boxes in the heading provide additional options for the cable label. Let me demonstrate. First, I'll expand the column width to display the full label. Here we have the front port name, bidirectional arrow, and the side B port name to which it's connected. Now, if I wanted to add the rack location where these ports are located, I can check the rack box. In this case, the side A port is in rack A02, and the side B port is in rack A01. If I want to select the RU where these ports, I'll check the RU box. The front port is in rack A02 RU28. That's where you'll find this patch panel and port, bidirectional arrow. Side B is in rack A01 RU42. That's where you'll find this port. If I want to know what room these ports are located in, I can check the room. In this case, the room is demo cage 1, rack A02 RU28. That's where this port is. And side B is also in the demo cage, rack A01 RU42. That's where you'll find that port. Can also add the site if you want to, and if you're tracking cable lengths, you can add the cable length to the cable. That's the front cable label column. Now the alt front cable label is the next column, and this is in the event that a user company has labeled their cables with their own unique labeling scheme. It's not necessarily a TIA compliant label as the front cable label, but maybe they're just using random digits or random names. We can put the front cable label that's user defined here if it exists. The next column is the back port connected to. The back port connected only applies to patch panels. And where the back of the patch panel is connected here. If there is no back port connection, you see the patch to port button. But if there is, you can see that this port, A01 patch panel P01, on the back side of that patch panel is connected to A02 patch panel port 01. The next two columns are module and cassette. Switches and patch panels can have modules and cassettes supporting batches of ports. If a port on the port list is sourced from a module and or a cassette, the name of the module and cassette can be listed here. After that comes site name, room name, and rack label. So each port is located in a particular site, room, and rack. That information is stored in these fields. Scanning to the right, the next column is device ID. Now this is a system assigned unique identifier for each switch, patch panel, or common device. In this case, the device is shown in the device name column. This is a patch panel. This is a patch panel. And the devices are hyperlinked to show details about the device. If I click on this patch panel hyperlink, it opens up a detail page with additional details about this patch panel, all the ports on this patch panel. There happen to be 36 of them on this one. The status of the ports, how each port is used. I'll let you explore this pop-up at your leisure, but want you to know that this link to device details is available by clicking on this hyperlink. The next column is device abbreviation. Oftentimes, the device name can be lengthy, and to put the full device name into a port name can be very cumbersome. Therefore, devices can have an abbreviated name to make the cable label a little more manageable. If a device has a device abbreviated name, it is displayed here. Next is the device config description. Each device has a configuration description, which is make, model, RU, and general information like that. It's also a system defined concatenated description. And the next is the device category. Devices have categories. I'll expand this column a bit. They can be patch panels or switches or other common devices. Every port is owned by a company. If the data center has multiple tenants in it with multiple racks and ownerships, then the company that owns each port is listed here. The next column is entitled Request ID. Let me scan to the right. The request ID is a seldom used column, but at times a port is requested via a ticket from a company's ITSM. This is used for cross connects and other times where there might be a billable event. In that case, we want to track who requested, when was the report requested, etc. That's what these next columns, request ID, when was the request created, who requested it, what company was the requester associated with. Seldomly used, but they can be very important. The next column is the status column. Is the cable of it, is the port available? Is the port in use? There are a number of statuses: available, in use. Is it a cross connect, billable, not billable? Is it a switch interconnect port? Is the port just in reserve status? There can be any number of statuses for each port. The next column is a notes column. This is just a text field to store any particular notes that are unique to any given port. The next column is a front cable type. If the front port is in use, what kind of cable is in use? Is it a fiber multi-mode OM3? Is it just a generic fiber? Is it RJ45? What's the cable type? That's stored here in the front cable type. Further to the right, we have for patch panels only. When there's a back port, it's nice to know where that back port is going to. Is it going to a different site, a different room, a different rack? Where the back port is going to is stored in these three columns. Finally, when there's a port chain, namely multiple ports connected together, there's a chain ID, and filtering by a chain ID number will show you all the ports that are part of a particular port chain. A couple final items before completing this session. First, let's talk about the filters. So there's a filter box in the heading of most columns, allowing you to filter one or many columns at the same time. For example, if I was looking to filter for the AO1 PP, all ports from the AO1 PP patch panel, I might type in AO1 space PP. And then I see only the ports. In this case, there are 61 ports associated with AO1 PP. I can remove that with the X. Perhaps I want to sort for particular status, like how many ports are in use. And if I sort for in use, I see, again, looking in the lower right-hand corner, the total of 8 ports with a status of in use. a status of available, there's 147 ports available. You get the idea. I can go through any column and sort for the information I'm looking for. So that's filters. And next is the hamburger stack. Here on the hamburger stack, there are a number of options. Clicking on the hamburger stack, I can refresh this grid. Perhaps I feel there's been some changes made that aren't reflected. If I click refresh, it gives me the latest update with all changes. I'm going to skip grid settings, come back to it. I can clear all my filters. For example, if I had multiple filters, like an AO1 filter and a available filter and all my, I want to see what TBDs are. So if I had this all filtered down, maybe to one or fewer, I can remove these filters individually, or I can come here and clear all filters, and all the filters on all the columns will be removed. A number of options to export data to CSV files, export all the data, export only the filtered data, custom export, you can explore those on your own time. And then I have all the columns. In this particular page, there are many, many columns that you have to scroll to see. And some of those columns you might not be interested in your use case. So, for example, you can come and say, nah, I'm not really interested in chain ID, or I don't care where the back ports on patch panels are connected. Maybe, yeah, I don't use any of the request related stuff. So you can just X out whatever columns you're not interested in. Yeah, I don't really care about the device ID either. And once you're done, you can click on the hammer stack again to close it. And now you've got far fewer columns here, but only the ones that you're interested in. So that's a use of the hamburger stack. I mentioned to you I was going to come back to reset grid settings. If I have perhaps adjusted a number of columns to various sizes and added and removed columns, and I want to get the grid list back to its original, I simply select Reset Grid Settings, and all the column widths and all the columns themselves are now displaying again, and I can recustomize it as I choose. Now, I will note that if you customize the column widths and the columns to show, that will be your view until you reset grid settings. Each time you log in and log off, that's the view you will see until you reset grid settings. All right, 3 more buttons here. You have the cable chain button, you have the update button, and the delete port button. A cable chain will just tell you, it'll give you the port you're looking at, in this case, down on the bottom, but this port is chained front to this port. So there's 2 ports, there's a cable between these 2 ports. There might be a cable chain with, yeah, here's a cable chain that has 3 ports. The AO1 3650 in port 9 goes to the AO1 patch panel on port 9, which then goes to the AO2 patch panel port 9. So you can see a full cable chain by the cable chain link. Next, if you want to update a port, you can click on the update button. I'm updating this port here, 01A module 3, cassette 1, strands 7 and 8. So that's the port I'm updating. I can change its front connection to add a front connection port, or remove it. I can add a back connection port. So if I was going to add a back connection port, I would click on the plus, and I will get a form to fill in that will allow me to choose a back connection. This is only available on patch panels. If I wanted to remove the front connection port, I can click the remove button. It'll ask me to remove it and select a new status. I'm not going to do so right now. And then the plus sign would appear and I could add a new port. Again, we'll discuss these views more in a future video, but that gives you and I'll cancel this at this point. That's how to edit ports. And if you want to delete a port, then you use this. Right now, this is grayed out because this port has connections. You cannot delete a port that has either a front or back connection on it. But if it was deletable, you could delete it from here. The last button that I will reserve for the next video training is the new button. So you'll see another video session that discusses how to add ports in batch or individually. That concludes this training session. It was a little longer than usual, but thank you for your patience and enjoy your use of InCommand.